Sehr gut. Sehr gut.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well, as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
So, in the future, you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for, like, graduation ceremonies. In dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm or is this some kind of toy for kids?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas, too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. Oh, and your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
and the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
Socialized healthcare? That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Just rolls off the tongue.
No. This can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man to have ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Hey guys, welcome to the program. We're going to change it up today because frankly, I'm tired of all the political BS. And every now and then we need a break, but I don't want to forego, keeping you up to date, what's going on in politics and everything else. So I'll just do a very brief update. Politics still sucks. Politicians are still lying. The midterms are already pre-rigged. Yes, we've got to pay attention and fix our elections, and we need your help. A lot of politicians are getting in trouble, and Trump derangement syndrome is still as strong and wild and wicked as ever. And last but not least, Candace Owens is asking for people to go stab Erica Kirk because she thinks she's a somehow combo living android robot. Now you know why I'm not going to cover any of the political crap. And we're just going to have some fun. We're going to take a break from all the mushugga. Here you go. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Here's all I'm asking you to do is to go to jovanlovesgold.com. That's it. It's very simple. jovanlovesgold.com. Fill out the form and request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. Digital money's coming. It's going to infect everybody. There's probably going to be a down round where they're going to discount what you have in the bank, and we won't be able to do cockapoo about it. And that's a sad state of affairs, but it's kind of the way it is. By the way, I'm not headed there after this broadcast, but if you've been following along to my exclusive series on locals, Jovan, Hutton, Pulitzer.locals.com, teaching you everything you need to know about Islam, you need to get totally up to speed on Islam. You need to get a heavy education about everything you need to know. And it's not in little bitty one tweet clip bites. You can't do it. So I've been doing a very special series exclusively over at my locals. Make sure you do it, because one way to cut the crap is to understand how and why rat bastards do it to us. And you have to understand how to defend it. So get ready, share this program. We're going to talk about priceless treasures that has been found thrifting or in junk shops. Yeah. Some pretty cool stuff. And exciting too. So share this program right now. We'll get started right after this.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no. Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. You fuck around and find out it's what it is. Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. Fuck around and find out what that is.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. We're going to talk about priceless treasure. Priceless. Big stuff. And we're dollar signing. Yeah, big numbers. I can't even put all the S's in place of the dollar signs there. Priceless treasure. Found thrifting in junk shops. Now, you know, I'm a big proponent of always look down on the ground. That's why I can't take a vacation. I don't know if you're like me. But, you know, you want to go out and you want to get out in the wild. You want to take it, whatever. I'm looking down nonstop. I'm looking for all the goodies in the sand or the rocks or whatever the case may be. And I'm not really vacating. Although, true story. Actually, maybe I can show it to you in a minute. I was walking around some rural country and I was looking at, you know, if rocks are rusty, meaning they look like they're weeping rust, and they have the reds and yellows in it, and they're fairly close or part of a quartz kind of outcrop, right? You got to be careful because you could walk over gold, right? And I was walking, I looked down, and a piece about the size of a deck of a card, and just caught it the exact right way in the sun, and like, holy smoke, the whole back thing of this is just like slathered, right, in hydrologic gold. That basically where gold precipitates sulfides and stuff, and it's very thin, kind of like it just hasn't become a powder yet, and it filters through the cracks of the rocks. And I just picked up this thing. Haven't done the assay yet, but I'm like, holy smokes, look at this thing. And so that's why I kind of always look down. You'll always find good things. And y'all heard my stories. You can't walk the beach in certain areas because I'm looking down, because I'm looking for whale vomit, ambergris. Look it up. It's priceless. Anyway, we're going to talk about priceless treasures. Yes. Priceless treasure. How do you tell pyrite from gold? Pyrite's brittle. Cubular and brittle. If you found a piece of gold and hit it, you dent it or it would smash flat. Found a piece of pyrite and you hit it with another rock or a hammer, it will shatter. Tell you an interesting story. You've always heard, right? You've always heard that if you pick up something and it looks like a diamond, one of the ways to test it is to smack it with a hammer, and that if it shatters, it's not a diamond. Have you ever heard that? Put it in chat. Have you ever heard that? Right? That if you were to find something that looks like a diamond laying on the ground, and that you kind of take a hammer and you rap on it, right? That if it shatters, it's not a diamond. A lot of people have heard that. Did you know that's a lie? How do you think they cut diamonds? It's by the cleave. That came from the English, and they sold that story to the U.S. because there's been a lot of diamonds found here. And they ended up with people, miners, thinking, well, this got to be a diamond. And say, no, hit it with a hammer. If it breaks, it's not. That was a lie, because it will shatter. And they poor miners were destroying the diamonds they found. And that's part of how the English did the hack of people in the U.S. not knowing there were diamonds. Diamonds are everywhere, folks. And if you think diamonds are extremely rare, then why do we have 7 and 8 year old rappers with diamonds embedded in their teeth if it's so rare? Anyway, there are people that fate, luck, whatever you want to call it, find something priceless, right? Now, I've done this before. I'll give you an example. In a little different field, I went to some little electronic rummage thing, looking through old parts and pieces. And two things that I knew what I was looking at. One of them, it was just kind of like an old, really old kind of Soviet era satellite dish repeater kind of thing. You've seen them around. And it was just a military surplus place. And it's just that little cone that goes in it. What they don't realize is in that little cone piece, if you break it open, that, we'll just call it a cathode, that diode, cathode, or whatever is in it, is pure platinum. Yeah, pure platinum. Another one, if you ever go to any of the military outlets, have you ever been into a military outlet, old stuff, looking for old stuff? Any of you in the Carolinas where you have Army bases and stuff? And if you ever go in and you can find bundles of old uniform buttons, you know, buttons for their green jackets, Army surplus, you'll find them in packets. We're talking bags. If you can find the ones that are about 1982 backwards, right? Backwards, you want to gobble them up. Here's why you want to gobble them up, is because for every pound of those buttons, which is really only a Ziploc bag about this big, every pound of those buttons, according to the military spec that was in play at the time, they had to plate them. They plated them in gold. They weren't solid gold. But for every pound of buttons, they used 1 ounce of gold to plate them. So that means that $10, $20 bag of buttons you could find at an Army surplus store will have $4,000 or $5,000 worth of gold that can be stripped from them. Now, I tell you this because there's things out there that people don't even know what they're looking at, especially snuff boxes. I know that sounds weird. I'll give you 2 other odd ones before I show you stuff. You know what a snuff box is. Maybe your grandparents, great-grandparents, stiff snuff. I like sweet snuff. I used to do it when I was a kid, getting grandpa's snuff, right? But yeah, if you have any of these Army Vets Clubs, go look for them. Find the old buttons, right? Rummage through that stuff. Anyway, snuff boxes. When you can find the early age snuff boxes, antique stores, you want to pay close attention to them because sometimes they'll be marketed as silver. Let me look this up real quick before I tell you. Hang on. Let's see what silver price. Silver right now, an ounce is $79.80. Okay, write that down. We'll call it. The strike price. So silver is $80 an ounce. In these thrift shops, looking for, and it's an era of snuff boxes. You want to be specifically looking for the old snuff boxes. Well, way back then, something that looked like silver, but had not really. What is snuff? Snuff is powdered tobacco, right? Powdered tobacco. And people would snort it or dip it, but it's a powder. Sweet. Anyway, when you go around looking for these snuff boxes, way back when, they would make knockoffs, and they wouldn't use silver because silver was known to be too valuable. There was another metal that had nowhere near the value of silver, and so they made them out of that to kind of trick the public. Do you know what that product was that they made it out of? Platinum. Now, if you found a silver one, pure silver one, it's worth $80 an ounce. You find a platinum one, it's $2,100 an ounce, $2,100 an ounce. And it's gone up 3 times since I just looked at it right now. That's the stuff they put in catalytic converters. I got some problems going on Instagram. I have no idea why. Wouldn't let me post today. Now it's not taking the stream. Got to figure out what the hell's going on with Instagram. Okay, anyway. So look for snuff boxes. They're made out of platinum, a lot of them. And so you can get little testing kits you can put in your pocket. You just kind of rub it, and it'll tell you whether it's platinum or silver. So we're going to take a look, right? We're going to take a look at some of the things people find out there thrifting. Here's your first one.
This is 81-year-old Leroy. He walked into a Goodwill store in South Carolina and saw an old painting for just $3. It looked like it was from the 1800s. He bought it and took it home, but didn't tell many people about it. About a year later, his daughter-in-law brought it to Antiques Roadshow to get it checked. The expert said it could be worth $20,000 to $30,000. That was already a big surprise. Leroy decided to wait and later sent it to auction, hoping it might be worth even more. The painting was later found to be from around 1650, made by an artist from the Flemish School in Amsterdam. It was sold at an auction in Massachusetts for $190,000. Leroy decided to share the money with his son and daughter-in-law. He will use his share for home improvements. This is an original painting, not a reproduction. Follow Pastel for more antique stories.
Pastel's a great account to follow on Instagram. I wonder what's up with my Instagram. They regularly screw with me. I should have known this morning something was up when I couldn't post the promo, and now I can't run the program, but we'll figure out what's up. They do it kind of regularly. These are some of the things that if you have a keen eye and you look at it, you might stumble across things that can make you wealthy. And sometimes it's the oddest things that people don't think about. Let me show you something from the mineral world, and we're going to talk a little bit about minerals later. Let me show you this one. This is a nugget. That's a gold nugget, folks. Now, the one on the right, you gotta realize is a replica. I just want to let you know. But this is called the Welcome Stranger Nugget. It was at the time. There's been one bigger, by the way. The largest gold nugget ever found. This was found by those two fellows on the left, John Deason and Richard Oates. 62 kilograms. Let me do a quick mathematical figure today. Hang on. Let me ask. Hold on. $62 kilograms, 66 kilograms. Let's kind of see what it is. I'm kind of do this stuff. Yeah, it's over 100 pounds. Let's see what that. Oh, damn it! I did the wrong number. Hang on. Oh, and I've had my coffee. Bear with me while you look at that. Hang on. What would a 66 kilogram of gold be worth? And what would it be worth if it was specimen nugget? Now, let me see if I can get this right. Hang on. 145 pounds. Okay, so it's 145 pounds that you're looking at. Those two old timers in the 1800s stumbled across it. Okay, And let's see, for live spot is the price. When you hear somebody say spot price, that's the price today. So at 145.2 pounds, 5,000 ounces, $745,000. Is that what you're coming up with? Yeah. So the live gold price right now is $4,799.85. And that's 2,121.95 troy ounces. If it was just a straight, here it is, if it was just a straight raw bullion value, that's $10.9 million. Now, what they did is they melted this. So that one nugget, in today's value, $10.9 million. If in fact they would not have melted it and would have kept it just at the nugget price, it would be worth $20 to $30 million. One find. I'll give you those numbers again. 66 kilograms is 2,121.95 troy ounces, which is how gold is measured. 4,799.85 is troy ounce bullion today. That would be 10.19 million just in the melting value. If you compare it, if it was a kept specimen value, that's called specimen value, keeping it together, it would be between 20 and 30 million bucks. Now you see why I look down? Goal. Yeah, there's some pretty amazing stuff out there if you got an eye for it. Now, there's some people that stumble across it and don't find until afterwards that it was worth something. Is this the right one?
This is Terry Horton.
This lady was buying a gag gift. Check this out.
This is Terry Horton. She was a retired truck driver from San Bernardino, California. She walked into a thrift store and paid $5 for a large, abstract painting as a gag gift for a friend. It was too big to fit through her friend's door, so she kept it. She tried selling it at a garage sale. An art teacher stopped and told her to get it checked. It might be a Jackson Pollock. Horton had no idea who Jackson Pollock was. She looked him up and realized what that could mean. She had the painting tested using forensic methods. A fingerprint found in the paint matched Pollock's known prints. Collectors came with offers, $2 million, $9 million. She turned them all down. She believes it is worth $50 million, and she is not selling for less. She paid $5. She has been offered $9 million. The painting is still sitting with her. These are original pictures, not reproductions. Follow Pastel for more antique stories.
Now, what would you have done? By the way, I just got a notice from Instagram. This show, here's the name of the show, Break from the Political BS, Amazing Treasures Found Thrifting at Junk Shops. Amazing Treasures Found Thrifting at Junk Shops. Get ready. The content, we've removed your content. The content may contain symbols, glorification, or support of people and organizations we define as dangerous. Right? We defined as dangerous. What the freak? Let me see if I can work around this system. I'm going to do this in real time. Hang on. What might have triggered this is using the word political BS. Let's see what happens here again. Now, there are people that kind of sit around trying to tank content. But that's the message that just popped up. I thought I'd share it with you. Now let's see what happens here, okay? content may contain symbols, glorification, or support of people, organizations that are dangerous. Okay, well, I got that. So let me go here. Hang on, I'm gonna make a quick edit to the program and see what happens. And maybe, okay, so no, wait, hang on. I wanna have our Instagrammers be able to join the program. And so let's see what I got. Maybe this will work. Who the hell knows? I don't know. We'll try it. We'll see if we can get Instagram back up and going. You might be offended to find out you can go outside and find retirement on the ground. And we don't want to offend you by letting you know you could set yourself free. This lady got offered millions. Let me show it again.
This is Terry Horton. She was a retired truck driver from San Bernardino, California. She walked into a thrift store and paid $5 for a large, abstract painting as a gag gift for a friend. It was too big to fit through her friend's door, so she kept it. She tried selling it at a garage sale. An art teacher stopped and told her to get it checked. It might be a Jackson Pollock. Horton had no idea who Jackson Pollock was. She looked him up and realized what that could mean. She had the painting tested using forensic methods. A fingerprint found in the paint matched Pollock's known prints. Collectors came with offers, $2 million, $9 million. She turned them all down. She believes it is worth $50 million, and she is not selling for less. She paid $5. She has been offered $9 million. The painting is still sitting with her.
She still owns this painting. Honest question. By the way, I did a workaround on Instagram. It's back up. Let's just see if it stays. Sorry about that, Instagram. Folks, if you're back on Instagram, decided they don't want you to understand that you can find things out there that'll set your life free. I'm so sorry to have offended you. Would you have taken the $2 million right off the bat? You paid $5 for it. Would you have taken the $2 million offer? Yes or no? Just be honest. You paid $5 for it, right? Somebody comes, wow. Would you have taken the $2 million? Now, some people say no. Some people will be honest, yes. Some people say right. Now, you wouldn't know there's a $9 million one coming. You would not know there's a $9 million one coming. You wouldn't. So would you honestly take the $2 million? And most people said, I'd take the $2 million and done. Well, let's say she did the $2 million. We know historically she did. But then another one comes and offers you 4+ times it. Would you have taken the $9 million? What would have made you hold out? Just because it was Jackson Pollock? I think most people would have taken the $9 million. Now, this set's unsold to this day, and it's been decades. She's holding out for $50 million. Do you want to know how art really works and why paintings sell so much? Do you actually know why paintings sell for so much? You want to know why certain paintings that you look like, that's a piece of shit. Why does it go up in price? It's actually what's called an ultra high net worth. It's not demand, has nothing to do with demand. Ding, ding, ding. Ultra high net worth individuals. And I'm sorry to tell you this. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you this. But the way a lot of the new art, we're not talking Rembrandts, we're not talking that stuff. When you see some of this bullshit stuff, and no, it has nothing to do in the beholder's eye. Here's the secret of big art. So forget Van Goghs, forget those things. That's different. But when you see a modern artist sell a painting for $5 million, has nothing to do with status either. What will happen is a group of people will get together and decide to elevate an artist. And it's primarily a big liberal racket. And what they will do, they will take said piece of art and they will put it in an auction. They will intentionally drive the price up. So let's say they buy this piece of unknown art, it's total racket, unknown art, and some wealthy person wins it at auction, driving the price up, and they win it at auction for $10 million. And it's just some unknown artist out of nowhere. They will take that $10 million piece of art, because now it has a value to it, and they will go over and take that piece of art and they will donate it to a museum. And the museum gives them a 50c3 tax certificate for the donation, and therefore that 20 million or 10 million or whatever they spent immediately comes off their taxes because it was donated to a museum. So a lot of the modern art stuff you see, that's what's done. And it's a whole network that does it. And they work with each other to drive up prices. It's not about do they win it or not. They're just driving it up, and it's X person's time to get it, and they donate it. And they get a massive tax write-off because they donated it to a museum. Now, when they donate it to the museum, now they get influence. Oh, yeah, we donated a $50 million piece of art to the Metropolitan Art. And you look at it and go, what? And that's why you ask so many times, compared to the masters, you look at it and go, what? That piece of shit brought 10 million? That's the racket. That's how it works. Now you know the horrible truth of that game. But it's approved and it works, and that's what's going on. But it's not only art where people can find things. It is, take this out.
This is Sandra Beaumont. She bought a compass from a thrift store. The owner said he had found it in an abandoned house belonging to the Ruthmere family. She paid $35. The man mentioned it had a superstition attached to it, but didn't know the full story. He said, maybe old man Rick knows. He's the last member of that family, living in a senior center in Nashville. Curious, Sandra went to him. When he saw the compass, he panicked and said, "Get that out of my face." He told her his father had bought the compass in 1912. The original owner warned him not to open it and said it was cursed, but his curiosity led him to ignore the warning. He opened it, and the next day, he died in a car accident. Shaken, Sandra left and decided not to open it. The next day, she took it to an auctioneer. He opened it. Nothing happened. He told her it was a rare 1910 Plan Limited compass, believed to have been used during World War I, with its original stamp still intact. He estimated it was worth around $200,000 and offered her $180,000. She accepted the offer. Later, he sold the same compass at auction for $440,000. Sandra was both lucky and smart. After receiving the money, she retired and bought a luxurious house. Do you think the compass was really cursed? And did she make the right decision to sell it out of fear? These are original pictures, not reproductions. Follow for more antique stories.
Isn't that awesome? Oh, by the way, part of the art rig that's out there, why you see such ugly art today, it comes back to the Communist Manifesto that said they have to destroy the art world. That's why we don't have sculptures and all this beautiful art. And we got ugly buildings and not great buildings, because part of the breakdown is they promote things that are obscene as art. Like one of the ones that went for a few $1 million was a mason jar. But here's why it was art. Because in that mason jar, the artist took a cross, put it in the jar upside down, and pissed in the jar. And that went on tour and sold. It's to mock. Well, you can tell what it's designed to mock. But that's part of the undoing of art. Like the one artist that sold a piece of art, and I think, let me just double check. Hang on. Again, you have to kind of understand where this connection comes from, the art world and the high liberal world and what they're really doing. But they'll do this. But it sends a message mocking God. But see, when you do that and mocking God, they get it on tour. It gets pressed. You got to understand how it works. This sold for $6.24 million. Okay. I want to see first who is the buyer. Hold on. And then I'll tell you what it is. Oh, come on. This happened November 20th, 2024. Okay. The person who bought it was a fellow by the name of Justin Sun, Chinese-born cryptocurrency entrepreneur, and he founded Tron crypto blockchain. And he paid $6.24 million. What did he pay $6.42 million for? It was a canvas. And on the canvas, the artist duct taped a banana to it. Duct taped a banana to it. Maybe it's just art that changes over time as it rots and molds and whatever. Yeah. $6.24 million for a banana duct taped to a canvas. How about this guy? This is what's called the broadside. And this wasn't that long ago. But a man bought a painting at a flea market for the frame. He bought the painting at the flea market for the frame. When he took the cheap painting out of the frame, there was an original copy of the Declaration of Independence behind it. It had been folded. I assume somebody put it there to protect it from the light. Yes, behind this cheap piece of art, and he wanted the frame. And by the way, framing stores, you can go to the framing stores and get frames, and they can be wildly expensive. I do it at the Goodwill. You go at the Goodwill. It's not for the art. Sometimes you'll find great stuff, but the frames sometimes are $700-800 frames you get for $10. Now, provided your art has to be to that dimension of the frame, but it's still, with a mat, you can do wonderful things. This sold in 1991 for $2.4 million. Yeah, $2.4 million. Folks, what we're doing is we're talking about things that have been found out there thrifting, right? Thrifting, or junk shops. And I'm showing you some of these amazing finds, like this one. One of the original Fabergé eggs, a scrap dealer found it at a flea market somewhere in the Midwest. He knew it was gold. And he bought it because it's, this is a solid piece of gold carved. It's completely different than what you think it is. And it ended up, he bought it for $14,000. He ended up, he later identified what it really was. And it was egg number 3 in the collection, $33 million. $33 million, and it was setting in the Midwest. By the way, Instagram's back up. Do you know why Instagram said it was potentially violent content? Look at the name of the show. BS. See it where it says political BS? That is what AI picked up and said might be harmful or dangerous. Anyway, folks, we're looking at treasures, priceless, big bucks, treasures found at thrifting and junk shops. I'm kind of giving you a tour of these things, and some of these things are really impressive.
This is Ariana Jade. She found a dusty ceramic jar at an estate sale. The organizer said it was just decorative pottery from a basement cleanout. Ariana paid only $35, wrapped the jar in newspaper, and took it home. She carefully cleaned it, and while washing, she noticed the colors were incredibly vivid underneath. Deep cobalt blue, iron red, emerald green, and bright yellow. Curious about the unusual technique, she brought it to a Chinese antiques dealer named Henry. When Henry examined the base mark, his expression changed completely. He quickly offered $80,000 in cash. Seeing a huge profit from her $35 purchase, Ariana accepted the offer and sold the jar. A few months later, she discovered that the same jar had appeared at a major auction house. Specialists confirmed it was a rare Jiajing period Ming Dynasty Wukai fish jar from the imperial kilns in Jingdezhen, created between 1521 and 1567. When the auction began, final price to $5.2 million. The jar she sold for $80,000 had become a $5.2 million masterpiece. Do you think Ariana made the right decision selling it immediately? Or should she have consulted more experts first? Follow Pastel for more antique stories.
See, that's the big question. And by the way, that's a great account. And Henry wasn't wrong. That's a great example. Does money drive you? Or do you even just do a little bit more excavation? If you really notice my background, somebody says, look at that. Bronze. From a very specific age. It's a food dog. And I was lucky enough to find the pair. The pair, right? Some things you just don't sell, you'll kind of hang on to, right? Because it's not really worth selling. I'm not sure a lot of these are really worth selling if they just go into private collections, right? But yes, I have the pair. That's what's even rare. It's called a food dog, FOO dog. Let me tell you what a food dog is. Hang on one second. Eventually I will do something with these meaningful. Food dogs, Chinese guardian lions are what they are. They're not actually dogs. They're used for protection, power, authority, prosperity, and guardianship. You can see how it looks over my shoulder, right? And there's one male and one female, and that's why it's so rare is to have both. Because you have to have the yin and the yang, and I got them, right? And that's where knowing the information makes a difference. Yeah, some people think it's a background. No, there it is. That's where knowing the information can make the difference? Yes, Chief, since he's my dog, is a Jew dog. That's a little bit different. And when we make a mixed flour together, he makes Jew dough. Anyway, that's a pair. Liberty Mom says, I didn't know Jovan has a pair. I have a great pair. An exceptionally high quality pair, just so you know, right? Anyway, food dogs are absolutely great. But what we're doing, folks, just for fun, because I'm tired of the political BS, right? Priceless treasures, right? This is where it pays to become, pay attention, somebody who studies little bitty odd pieces of information, just so you know. And if you collect it for trivia persons, you're actually known as a spermologer. But it's good to kind of follow these things to do them, because it can kind of train your eyes into these things, right? That you kind of never knew were out there. I'll give you an example. Look at this. This is Julio de Dos Filho, Brazilian. He found this nugget. And by the way, the nugget was kept intact. And today that nugget approaches about $15 million in value. It's called the Welcome Stranger. The Welcome Stranger nugget. I could dig that. Hey, welcome, stranger, come here, right? So there's all kinds of creative things you can find out there if you kind of look. There's even things in the past that were totally devalued, had no value. People thought they were trash. Seriously, society thought they were trash. And now they are a pretty penny. Who's the one painting? That's one of my English ancestors. Some of y'all have seen my various family art, right? I collect the old paintings of my ancestors. And so literally, if you were to line them up, you can go through. Now, you got to understand, there's a difference between paintings that, come from the 15th century, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then when you're going back ancestors 1,000 years ago, it's only depiction of what they thought they would have looked like. There's not really paintings. By the way, somebody called me out the other day. Have you noticed how all of these people that are running psyops and stuff have globes in their images? Anyway, people will find anything. Anyway, that's one of my ancestors. And it is part of something I'm working on, that when you look down one particular wall, you can see 1,000 years of my grandparents. And so it's been one of the things I've been working on for a very long time. But you can see 1,000 years of my ancestry on one wall. And you can go on, it's probably Amazon or some of the other book dealers, right? My family is an exceptionally unique family going back in time. I have it to even before the 1st century, by the way. And it's just a unique historical piece of family. Of course, I'm a history nut. And so that's kind of one of my things. Joe says, I purchased a cast iron railroad sign for $500, and a year later immediately sold it for $4,000 on eBay. There you go. They exist. Joe, you're the bomb, man. Isn't that awesome? They're out there. They're out there, right? They're out there. Anyway, so that's all we're doing, folks. We're just having a little bit of fun, taking a look at things out there that people found, right? And knew what they were or suspected they were, right? Bought them, some unsuspecting, and they found them. Let me show you another one. And this is its finished form that I'm going to show you. But the fellow bought it in its rough form. Now, he was a fellow in the know. It was in Wyoming, I believe. And he was literally looking at a rock. He knew what it was, and it was a big one. And I think he bought it for almost nothing and then had it finished out. By the way, one of the things I happened to have had back in time was the entire bedroom set, which is chest of drawers, nightstand, bed, and dressers, that happen to be the same exact bedroom set that is in Graceland and Elvis Presley's bedroom. See, and it's collectible to a Presley collector, right? Anyway, check this out. It's a rock. It's a rock. This guy knew he was looking at a star sapphire in its raw form. He bought it for $10 in a just rough mineral box. That's a perfect star sapphire. See how the star's dead center? They don't have to twist it to make the star, right? $2.28 million. Bought it for 10. This stuff's out there. It's out there. I can tell you there are some states I have found rubies as large as a dinner plate. Now, granted, they weren't gem quality, right? They weren't gem quality, but they're still great finds. I'll tell you another little find. I'll tell you a little story. And in a minute here, for those of you that wanted to know about mining claims and gold land and that stuff, we're now collecting it up. Make sure you've got your 12 questions answers. I'm going to read them here live in a minute. But let me tell you an interesting story. At one certain place in Montana, there are natural deposits of sapphires. Now, sapphires, when they come out of the mountains and break away from the strata, are jagged and, edges and whatever, crystalline. But as they wash and drag, and yeah, if you email your points, you'll get this. Oh, a number of prints. Thank you. If you, as they go out over time and tumble, the tumbling, like a rock tumbler, as they tumble down streams and stuff from ancient times, they become rounded. Well, at this one particular place, and this is one I just haven't had time to finish up, but at one point in time, our United States military and scientists figure out in our B-52 bomber planes, our big bomber planes. Of course, this is, going back in World War II, right? Is it World War II? The gyro compasses that would balance the planes, because they spin so wildly, they needed to put a bearing in it. A certain size bearing, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, whatever it was. Now, steel bearings wouldn't work because they were having to replace them so much. And so they found out that these natural rounded sapphires appeared in Montana. So the United States government came in and hired miners to mine the sapphires, and it only wanted those that were that specific millimeter, right? We're talking about that right there. that my eye's peeking through, okay? Well, the miners found a massive amount of sapphires, but the government only wanted and would only pay for a specific millimeter. So anything that wasn't in the right millimeter size, meaning larger, the miners just chunked back in the dirt. More importantly, in tracking this story, I found out some of the miners, what they would do is, because they're using hydraulic machinery to dig up this land, so you would have hydraulic fluid 5-gallon buckets, right? 5-gallon bucket. Think your Lowe's or Home Depot buckets. All of the ones that weren't that size, they would just take them all out after they, because you wash them up and you get them, and then they shake them through shakers. And it's, if I had my little shaker here, I could show you, but it catches the one that's the exact size, and the rest are either, too small or too big. They would just dump them in these hydraulic buckets and then put the lids back on, and they would throw those off in the dirt, and they just get buried right back up. So you're talking 5-gallon buckets, metal bucket cans, filled with sapphires. And so I'm chasing this story. Now, there's no way to tell over these miles where those buckets would be. And they'd be kind of hard to detect after this time because that bucket would degrade. However, I found a story where some of the miners got an idea, well, maybe these sapphires might be valuable. Yeah, sifters might be valuable. So 2 rackets went on simultaneously. Number one, there were so many sapphires there that the government contract was fulfilled very fast. Well, of course, they weren't going to have that on a government contract. And so what they started doing is taking all of those sapphires, okay, and they started filling 55-gallon drums. 55-gallon drums. Sorry, Stair Ray, but a 101-year-old father passed away. Sorry about that, but what a great long life. Our condolences. Anyway, I'm reading Rumble Chat. Anyway, so the miners conspired against the government and started claiming it was hard to find these sapphires. It's not. And so they started taking all the sapphires, and in the 55-gallon fuel drums, they started filling them with sapphires. But they were worried to get found out. See, what they wanted to do is they just wanted to keep on having a regular paying job. And they couldn't do anything with these sapphires. And so they started filling 55-gallon drums, but they needed to hide the evidence that they were cheating like this. And so what they did is, on a big flatbed truck, think something in the 1940s, they loaded these 55-gallon drums. Let me see if I can get a measurement. Hold on. See if I can get some math on this. I'm going to try to find out how many. 101 years old. That's great, right? 101 years old. Okay. So here's the measurement. A 55-gallon drum is 208 liters, or 208,000 cubic centimeters. 1 carat is 0.2 grams. Okay? And all of these are loose stones. So it's estimated that each drum, this is the carat, number of total carats, that each drum would hold 2.8 million carats. And yes, old Bibles are extremely valuable, extremely valuable. Anyway, 1 55-gallon drum will hold 2.8 million carats. Got it? 2.8 million carats. Oh, scratch that. Yeah, sorry. Because they were alluvial, which means they really wouldn't have air gaps, would be about 4 million carats. I got to account for it's not rough strata, it's rounded. So it'd hold about 4 million carats. So you got 4 million carats of sapphires per 55-gallon drum. Well, these guys are conning the government. They want to keep the government contract going. There is no market for sapphires from the United States or anything like that back then. And so they started filling these drums. And they ultimately, I hear they had anywhere between 10 barrels and 20 barrels filled. They've been setting them aside, right? And they were trying to figure out how to get them out of there because the bosses would have seen somebody taking the barrels. And so what they did was when it froze cold solid near the area where the river, right? River, what's your Bible, Penny? Hold on. Hang on. I'm doing two things. So when the river froze and the bosses weren't looking, they decided, because the river is only, a couple hundred yards across, they decided what they'll do is they'll drive this truck across the river to not have to be seen taking barrels out of it, because it's a very long way around, right? And going across the river, which is normally solid ice, they hit a weak spot and that whole truck went down. So if there were 10 barrels, there was 40 million carats. 40 million carats. I found where the camp was, I know where the river was, and I know the general direction they're heading. And it's one of the expeditions I've never been able to mount because there's various considerations, and I got to figure all the great geological floods because of something that big like a truck. Now, the barrels would have probably scattered, but you want to find the truck because it's the easiest to detect by side scan sonar and work your way backwards. So it would be anywhere between 40 million and 80 million, 40 million and 80 million carats. By the way, whoever said that, Penny, hang on. What's the name of the German translation you have, Penny? A Bible from the 1500s. Here's what I need. I need the title page, the publication, the printer, publisher, and the year, and I'll help you out. But anyway, literally a Bible from the 1500s, like you say you have, if it's damaged or incomplete or even just a common one, it's going to be worth $2,000 to $10,000. If it's in fairly good shape and you know where it came from, it'll be $10,000 to $50,000. If it's some of the important source ones, it'll be $30,000 to $100,000 in value. And if you give me the stats, I'll tell you what it's worth. Just put it in there. Okay. So as you see, there's common household things. So sapphires, think about that. See, I'm a mind smarter guy. Why go dig your ass off when I could put same amount of resources and I'm just mounting an underwater campaign and all I got to do is find this truck? God, I got to get back to my exploration business, which I put on hold. But anyway, and I tell you this because this stuff's out there on the ground. There's true wealth out there, folks, right? And by the way, I would have to do it as a mixed air dive, right? Which you saw our team do on Curse of Oak Island. We did a mixed air dive. And the reason you do a mixed air dive is going down by a tank, you got 20 minutes. You're going to use 10 of that, half of it just getting on site from top to bottom and no orientation. So you only got 10 minutes to work. But doing rebreathers, we can stay under 24 hours at a time. Anyway, it's just one of the things I hope to get done before I pass. Here's what we're doing, folks. We're talking about priceless treasures found at thrifting stores, etc. People just kind of found something, right? And go, hey, that's it. And so, but I was telling you about useless stuff. That's how I got on the stories of sapphires, because those guys at that time, it was just useless. Just useless. Let me show you something. It's a treasure you've had now. It's pretty pricey when you think about it, but it used to be as useless as a cockroach.
You are paying hundreds of dollars for literal garbage. These luxury foods used to be fed to prisoners and pigs. First up is the biggest scam of all, lobster. You think ordering a lobster makes you look rich, but before the 20th century, this was bottom feeder trash. White people refused to touch it, so they fed it to indentured servants and slaves. Then they started feeding it to prison inmates, and you will never believe what happened next. The inmates literally rioted. They started a massive uprising because eating lobster was considered cruel and unusual punishment. They actually had to pass a law capping lobster meals to 3 times a week. Now, you drop $100 on a fancy tale to impress a date. You are flexing with prison rations. But why did they hate it so much? Because eating pure protein when you are starving is miserable. With no fat in your diet, it tastes like chewing on...
Isn't that wild? Yeah, the cockroach of the sea used to be prison food. We talked about the other day, just couldn't find the video. And that's how some things that you thought no value at one time have incredible value now. Somebody said, I think it was artist said, my particular way of doing things is I rather research it, and it directly comes from my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was said to be a very lazy man, right? And the reason he was said to be a lazy man is because when everybody else was picking cotton. Now, I don't know if you've ever picked cotton. I've picked cotton. I don't know if you've ever, one of my jobs was swimming the rice paddy, where the water goes around the rice paddies. You got to swim through it and break up all the clugs so it flows well. Anyway, my great-grandfather refused to pick cotton. And he took a world of shit for it. If you've ever picked cotton, boy, it'll rip your fingertips apart. You're cracking it out of kind of like a pecan shell, and you're pulling out that little dab of cotton. Well, what my great-grandfather did is he said, screw that. And he waited till the very end. And then they would, pitchfork up the cotton onto the wagons to take them to the market. And hang on, I'm going to check the price. And so while everybody was busting their ass in the field, and they're probably working for not even $1 a day. So they're going to bust their ass. They're going to be out in the heat. They're going to make their finger bleeds and everybody else. They were working, right, for that $1 a day, maybe. My great-grandfather said, screw that. Now, he had his own wagon, and he had a horse team. And so he would wait till all the cotton picking was done. You can still see this to this day, by the way. It's money laying on the freaking ground. And so you've probably noticed, if you ever been through cotton country, even putting it in the big trucks, little specks of cotton blow out. Well, you can imagine in their times it was far more prevalent, okay? And so what would happen is, while everybody picked it, he waited till it was done, and they're transporting it to market, and he would pick up everything that fell by the wayside, and it doesn't fall in wayside and cotton balls. It would be clumps. They just fall off the wagon. Well, nobody bothered to pick those up at time. Hang on, let me see. Hold on. I just want to give you real facts. And so while the wagons are going into the mills, he would just set up behind them. So the first thing he would do is when they left the field, here's all these little cotton out there. He would basically pick the perimeters and stuff clean right there at the road. And then he would follow the cotton train going to the mill, and all those big clumps that would fall off the wagons, okay, he would pick that up. Now, you got to understand, a lot of these people were forced laborers. A cotton bale is about 400 to 500 pounds, by the way. Pick a bale of cotton. They would get paid about 50 cents per 100 pounds. That's what and this was in Arkansas and Mississippi. This is what a cotton picker would get paid in, 1891. They would get 50 cents per 100 pounds picked. A bale would be 400 pounds or 500 pounds, depending upon what the mill wanted. And so my great-grandfather said, screw that. And he would literally, and half of those people got paid and half of them didn't in years before that. But they get about 50 cents a pound. He would pick all that up. All he did was pick it up. That's it. All the little fluffy stuff picked up, where everybody busted their ass. And he would get, in following the cotton train and just picking it up with the kids and the family, they would make in any one season about $350. Where an average person working a month might be lucky to make $15. And so probably part of my thing is genetically, with me, I'm just not going to do that shit. I'm going to work smarter if I can work smarter. And this came on the heels of this particular person. I'll give you the whole story. We had tremendous amount of land holdings. But his father was a gambler and a drunkard. And so my great-great-grandfather, who was his father, was a state senator. And he literally, in a card bet on a riverboat, put up the family's 10,000 acres of land and lost it on a card bet. And it completely changed the dynamics of my family from that time on. Everything lost. And so his son, which was smart enough to know that the family was smarter and better and whatever, my great-grandfather, that's why he kind of had the pension. I ain't doing that shit. I'll just work smarter. And they were able to survive and have a very nice life by surviving. But yes, that addiction of gambling and drinking devastated our family. And so my grandfather, this great-grandfather's son, he was creative as well. And his particular thing, which spanned prohibition and stuff, he saw how much alcohol and stuff were selling for it. And so that one grandfather, basically what he did is he picked cotton, make money. Then he went down to Florida. So grandfather on one side, he used to run the rum for the Kennedy family. And so while he was delivering the mail, he would run the illegal liquor in the mail boat and deliver it. That's where he made money. And then my actual grandfather, from the one that my great-grandfather picked up a bale different, when he saw the price of liquor, and right, he, being as white as they come, opened one of the most successful juke joints, true thing, in Mississippi, of all places. and was able to keep the family afloat with a dozen kids, him not being there, but running a juke joint and making sure the money got home. So I guess you got to kind of be creative, right? But yeah, my family lost all their holdings in a freaking card game. Anyway, try this find.
This is Jessica Vincent. She raises polo ponies just outside Richmond, Virginia. She and her partner stopped at their local Goodwill to unwind after work. She spotted a large red and green striped glass vase in one of the aisles. She picked it up immediately. She said she knew it was a nice piece, but had no idea how nice. She could not believe nobody had picked it up before her. She paid $3.99. At home, she noticed markings on the base indicating it was made in Italy from high-end Murano glass. She posted photos in a glassware Facebook group. The responses came fast. The vase was designed by Carlo Scarpa, one of Italy's most celebrated architects and designers, and produced by the renowned glass company Venini. It sold at a Chicago auction house for $107,100 to a European art collector. Jessica called it her Christmas miracle. She bought a new trailer for the horses and said she would never stop going to Goodwill. These are original pictures, not reproductions. Follow Pastel for more antique stories.
Some of these were just a few years ago, right? Some of these are just a few years ago. Here's another mineral one for you. One more of the larger finds, and what we're doing is we're talking about priceless. I'm stressing it. Treasures are found out there thrifting or in junk shops. Here you go. This was found by Kevin Hillier. This is Kevin right here. And in 1980, with a metal detector, he found this particular nugget. It's called the Hand of Faith. It looks like a hand, right? It's now on display, I think, in one of the big casinos and stuff. They bought it for millions, right? 875 troy ounces. Now, he found this with a metal detector. He found it with a metal detector. And the way I understand the story, he was detecting where miners had been. This thing must have been filthy. And I think the miners just kind of let it go by with the rock crush because it was too big and never expected to be gold. And it got buried under the old rocks. He comes around with a metal detector, detecting where people had previously worked, and changed his fortunes into the millions. And here in a second, I'm going to remind you of the questions that we asked for those of you. You sent me an email to my full name, just like you see it on the screen, at Gmail, because you wanted to have places to go mine. It's where you can still get land for $30 an acre. It does become yours. You've got a long-term mineral release on. You can pass it down to your family, your friends, or whatever. But even if you find something like that, like if you found a big-ass nugget, even though it's worth millions, you don't pay any tax on it until you decide to sell it. If then it's only taxable, but you go work it. Let me show you one of these other finds out there. This is one of the ones that I think is just a great, right? Somebody said bought a bunch of gold looking silverware for 10 cents at each sparrow's nest, all 9.25. That's pure silver. That's right. I do that all the time. I always look at estate sales when I pass one or I'm in an area, and I picked up a knife set. That not only are the knives silver, but the handles are all pure ivory. And I think I got them, the whole set, for $10. Anyway, here's one.
This is John Anderson. He spotted a pale blue ceramic dish in a cluttered antique shop. The shopkeeper said it came from an estate sale. To everyone else, it was just another crackled celadon piece. John paid only $85, carefully wrapped the dish, and brought it to his house. While cleaning it, he noticed an unusual sky blue tone with perfect ice crackle patterns. Curious after seeing it, he immediately took it to a Chinese ceramics specialist. When the expert noticed the mark, he was surprised and suddenly became eager. He said, "I will buy this for $120,000. John said,
Okay, so it's broken. It's been put back together. He finds it, he spots it. And this art dealer he took it to say what it was, instantly on the spot offers him 120 grand. Now you buy something for very cheap. Would you be inclined when somebody goes, oh, I'll give you $120,000 right now for it? Would you be inclined if you watched somebody respond that fast, couldn't hold their emotions, would you be inclined to sell it?
This is John Anderson. He spotted a pale blue ceramic dish in a cluttered antique shop. The shopkeeper said it came from an estate sale. To everyone else, it was just another crackled celadon piece. John paid only $85, carefully wrapped the dish, and brought it to his house. While cleaning it, he noticed an unusual sky blue tone with perfect ice crackle patterns. Curious after seeing it, he immediately took it to a Chinese ceramics specialist. When the expert noticed the mark, he was surprised and suddenly became eager. He said, "I will buy this for $120,000. John sensed something was wrong, refused the offer, and took the dish home instead. A week later, he submitted it for auction. There, specialists confirmed it was authentic Ruguanyao ware from the Song dynasty, estimating it could reach $25 million. But when the auction started, the bidding reached $37.7 million. So that $85 investment turned into a $37.7 million retirement fund. This is the original piece, not a reproduction. Follow Pastel to see more antiques.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That's a holy shit moment. Who put that in chat? Hang on. DBK 1956 on Rumble says, my husband back in the 70s found a 1906 $20 gold piece in the front yard. Okay. So that $20 gold piece, probably in the 70s was worth a couple $100, even though it was a $20 gold piece. My question for you is, did he hang on to it? That even though it was a minted $20 piece, and if he found it and then sold it, maybe he got a couple $100 for it. Maybe, possibly, maybe, probably not. Let me see what it, anyway, I'll tell it to you this way. If he still had it today, depending upon which mint it is, at its least value, that $20 gold piece is worth $4,600 today. If it's got a particular mint, a D or S, it's worth $10,000 today. So what we've been doing, folks, is we've been talking about priceless, baby. Things that people found at auctions or whatever the case may be. Right? There's all kinds of stuff out there. I want to read to you just real quick in closing. Remember, I've asked you to send me an email, just like you've been seeing sapphires or golds or whatever the case may be. There's an unknown law that most people don't pay attention to that enables you, still in the Americas, to get land, federal land from the government. It does become yours. It's just technicality and paperwork stuff. You can keep it your entire life. You can pass it on to your heirs and stuff, just as long as you keep the paperwork current. But it allows you to basically go out and find mineral land. Here is what I sent you. If you didn't get your email, let me put my eyeballs on. Okay. And so I basically tell you, here are the states where you can do this: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oregon, South Dakota, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. And it's the lead states, the western states that lead this, but it's a multi-step process to do it. We're going to help you through all the location and paperwork and stuff. And I want you to remember, you don't just go to land, right? You just don't go to, it says, no, Jovan, my dad bought it and went to the Super Bowl. He got about $300. There you go. Wow. Anyway, just because, let's just say, Nevada has gold doesn't mean all Nevada land has gold, right? The two rules of gold are as follows. Gold is where you find it. That's kind of a duh. But you're not going to find gold predominantly or minerals or anything like that where it has not been found just because it's in a near proximity or in the same state or even the same county. That is not the way it works. And so part of this is us doing the deep research for you to make sure you are, if you want to find platinum or you want to find silver or you want to find turquoise or you want to find jade or you want to find diamonds or sapphire or gold, whatever it is, or combos, to make sure you're matched to the closest place where finds have been found historically recorded, and then you work the geology backwards. I'll give you an example. And I'm going to give you a wealth story because it created $1 billion wealth. A fellow, I think the name of the books is Diamonds and Water and Ice, Fire and Ice. It's a great read. I used to give the book away. It's a fellow by the name of Robert Fripke. And he set out on the search for diamonds. The way he did it is he knew there were general diamond areas. And so he started looking in the creeks and streams. And so what did we do? Let me see if I can find just a picture. Hang on. So you understand what it is. He started going into rivers and streams. I got to find a true small ones. I just kind of want to show you the scale. One second. I just want to find you something reasonable that you can kind of understand, but I'll use this one. So he started going into creeks and streams in diamond country, and he would pull from the little nooks and crevices, kind of say like where there's a hard rock base on the river and there'd be a little pothole. He would dig the stuff out of the pothole, and then he would microscopically inspect them, okay, using a microscope. And he started looking for what's called micro diamonds. Now, this is kind of what it looks like under a microscope. And we're talking 1,000+ magnification. But you can see the shapes. These are diamonds. We're talking these are grain of sand size, okay? And so he started looking, and when he finally found in the stream beds, he started finding micro diamonds and indicators. Indicators are usually garnets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he spent time tracking these micro diamonds and took meticulous records, noticing as the sizes got bigger. What he realized is as the sizes of the micro diamonds got bigger, what was that an indication of? What was an indication of, I'm closer to the source. Heavier ones are going to stay farther back. Tiny, tiny ones are going to flow down. And so he kept on working it backwards and working it backwards and working it backwards. And until he comes to the streams, there's multiple streams, and he's chasing these micro diamonds. It's all research work, folks. And the diamonds started getting bigger, and he started finding what's called massils. Let me see if I can show you a picture of massils. Hold on one second. Here's a massil. One second, let me get it on my screen. So the first ones I showed you, you see how they're a bit rounded? You're going to still see the crystalline structure in it. But as he's going through these things, and he's running them down. He's looking for them to get bigger. And where in the hell is that picture I just did? Hold on. He's looking for them to get bigger, and he's looking to find massils. I'll show you a different way. Get on my screen, stand by. This is a diamond massil. Let me take this one off, get to this screen. So this is a massil. Now, massil is the diamond in its particular shape where it's still, and here you see the Star of David, you're seeing the massil shape of the stone. Okay? And in finding the massil shape of the stone, as they got larger and he starts finding massils, see, it's those points that chip off over time the most. That's the weakest point in it. And once he started finding the triangles, he knew he was close to the source. And so he's working it back. And all of a sudden he stopped finding them. What does that mean? He's looking for microdiamonds. He's researching them. He started out, by the way, I should have told you, he started with indicators. There are other gemstones that indicate diamonds are present. He tracked the indicators, found the diamonds, tracked the diamonds larger size, found the massils. You're right. When he finally gets up these creeks, and there are none he can find, he basically found where the diamonds entered the stream. It meant he was on it. He was on where they went from the ground and got washed into the stream. It's the same for gold. If you were looking for gold in a river and you find little specks, but you keep on working the creek and the river and they get bigger and bigger, and then they stop being flat and they start being round, and then they go from being round to you see bits of quartz in it, but they're not polished. They're rough. Right? They got a lot of sharp edges and they got quartz in them. Well, then when you find that, you're basically where it's breaking out of the mountain. Anyway, he chased this up. It is what built what was called the Rio Tinto mining empire. It was worth $1 billion from, and all he did was put in the footwork. Never mind. He just put in the footwork. Doing this is science, and that's why I tell you, if you wanted one of these places, you use forensics to understand how to get there and what you're doing. It's not random chance. Anybody can go, I'm in Nevada and here's some land and I'm going to mine here. Does not mean anything's there. Does not mean anything else. So I'm going to go over real quick the questions I asked you, because this is part 2 before you get to part 3. The questions I asked you, which you should have replied to. Don't worry, nobody's been forgotten. You don't have to send me multiple emails. Nobody's been forgotten. It just takes a little bit of time. I asked the question, what type of terrain, right, suits you best? Desert, river or stream, mountain or forest, or all of the above? And these have codes by them, A, B, C, D. You kind of put in what it is. Second thing I asked is, what are the minerals that best suit your needs? Gold only, silver, any precious metals, top tier gemstones, which are diamond, ruby, sapphires, any gem deposits, or all of the above. Then I asked you, what is your priority and wanting land like this? Are you really wanting to do it because of the mineral claims? Or are you just wanting to do it for recreational use, or you just want to use it because you have land, have a claim, and you can pass it down to your kids as long as the paperwork's kept current? So I asked you that. Then I'd basically tell you federal law says you can have between 1 and 10 of these, and they're 20 acres a pop. Boom, 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 boom. So I asked you, how many single 20-acre parcels are you interested in? question, was that right? Or I asked you if you've ever done this before, if you've had any. Then I asked you the parcels. Then I asked you for recovering minerals, what works best for you? Floating in a river, digging in dirt or sand, or busting open rocks? Okay. And you answered that question. Then I answered, do you want detailed training in how to find these? Then I asked, do you want parcels for other family members? And then to finally confirm how many different parcels you're talking about. Let me grab something real quick. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had to run over to my lab just so I could show you something. I promised you at the top of the show. So it's not too late to get involved. Nobody has missed it. Don't worry about it. Nobody will be left out. Nobody will be left out. Okay? Anyway, would you walk over a rock like that? How many rocks like this have you seen on the ground? Let me see if I can get a good focus. Put it in chat. Have you ever seen rocks like this on the ground? I have family in Redding, in California. Anyway, have you ever seen rocks like that on the ground? Right? Just a rock. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you, okay, can you see the little bit of the reddish tint in this rock? Now, if you're looking from afar, you can kind of notice the reddish tint, which will kind of give you your iron in the rocks. And so you're looking for iron indicators. Let me show you the little top of the rock. Can you see that red there? So now that's the bottom of the rock, but you see that red in there? And you kind of see there's sulfur and yellow. It's kind of red. It starts getting sulfury, rusty. This is what's called rusty over here. Okay. Those are, if you were just looking at rocks, those are the things you're looking for. But you probably would have walked over that, right? Let's see if I can get it to shine for you. Dang. There you go. Look. You see that? That's all gold. That's one little bitty piece of rock. Now, this is on the hydraulic side, and this is where hydrologically it comes through the ground. It's tiny, tiny particles, and as it flows through those irons and sulfides, it deposits the little bitty specks. There you go. But if you wouldn't have known to look for the red, right, you never would have found it. Most people would have told you that's an Indian sex stone. Do you know why you would think this was an Indian sex stone? You know what an Indian sex stone is, right? Yeah. That's the first time I went out with my cousin when we were kids. I'm picking up, what's this? Because we're picking up artifacts. He goes, that's an Indian sex stone. I go, an Indian sex stone? What's that? He says, just a fucking rock. Yeah, just a fucking rock. Well, you would think this is just a fucking rock. That is not what it is. See if you can get a good glimpse from this side. So here you're looking at the geologic composition. And this is why you look for, you see those tiny shell fractures in there? That's where the ancient waters flow through it. Now, this is distant from a far distant source, but it affixes itself. Yeah, just another fucking stones, Indian sex rock. So there it is. And many people, I'm going to try to get the light on it again. Let me just get a good focus. Many people would completely walk against it. So gold doesn't necessarily hit you in the face. So what you do for a rock like that, and boy, I can just see it glimmering from here. How can I show you that? I had it just a minute ago. There you go. That's why most people miss it. But there's all different kinds. You have to understand where it is. This stuff, right? This stuff, you just load up your freaking wheelbarrow, go home and bust it up and pull the gold out of it. And so those are the questions I asked you. It's a process. Nobody's missed out. You are not going to miss out, but it is a process. But I can tell you what, we're not going to waste our time researching for you if you're not really serious. And so the way it did is we put it out there if you want it. We've gotten your emails back. We send you the 12 questions. Can't do anything without the 12 questions. Then we get the 12 questions back. Then you're going to get an email. So are we understanding you correctly? This is it. And once you confirm that, right? That is where it begins the process. You'll basically get an invoice and the work begins to go through the paperwork process, which we'll all go through together on each one, which could be 60 days. That's how it works. But once you have it, it's yours as long as you keep up with it. Now, there's always a county tax. Could be $10, could be $50, could be $90, depending upon your county. But at the federal level, as long as you go out to the land once a year, or somebody from your family does on your behalf, right? And says, well, I was doing some looking or whatever, right? Then you don't pay any tax. And that's called, of the prudent man theory. If it was worth your time, it was worth your time. We trust you. How can you tell from fool's gold from gold? Fool's gold crumbles. But how do you tell them this? I use what's called X-ray phosphorescence. I have basically a gun, handheld gun, looks kind of like a cop's speeding thing, and it emits a nuke serial, right? Nuke serial. It will tell you the incredible composite. McCourt Miller says, New York State says any gold you find, including on your own land, is theirs. Yes. Some states do that. Not all states. And that's why these are based on the states where that law is wide open and ain't going to change. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's program. A little fun. Priceless. Precious treasures. Because frankly, I'm tired of all of the political shit, and I think you need to be saving your own ass, and nobody's going to save your ass except you. That's why I do the books I do. To basically, you're going to have to learn how to grow your food. You better get right on it, folks. If you're lazy and don't want to dig and don't want to weed, I did that. If fruit's your thing, baby, here it is. Right? I'm going to do a show upcoming for you. I've got fruits for you that might be growing in your garden, especially if you have family land, that you might not know your state has outlawed and made criminal. Fruit trees. Outlawed, made criminal. And if they find them, they have the right to rip them out and bill you for it or take your land. That'll be coming up on the next series of shows. I'll share that with you. And thanks for everybody making sure that we get to the end game for the full forensic audit. It's very key. We got great things happening if it happened, but it's still going to take all of you pulling together to get there. And nobody is too old to get out searching for gold. Let me tell you why. What we're engaged in is the paperwork process and getting you the land. But there are plenty of people in your family that would love just to get out and hunt. And it's still land. And it's still under your control. So you don't actually have to get out yourself and do it. You don't. Got a lot of friends and family may do it with you. Anyway, I love you all. Share this program.
You fight for free and fair elections, invent and scan the balance of kinematic artifact detection. You love to read and learn, travel and explore. You're a fearless, braveheart patriot who's opened doors. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. You lead by God and always do what's right. In the battle for our nation, you lead the fight. We pray for your safety, the armor of God to protect you from all of us. Here's a thank you for all that you do. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. Jovan, you're a hero we stand behind. We're inspired by the fire inside your eyes. American proud, we know you'll fight till your dying day. And we'll always stand behind you through everything. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior.